All right, we can go ahead and get started. The date is November 22nd, 2021, and this is the hearings meeting of the Springfield City Council. Will councilors and guests please rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please be so kind to call the roll for us this evening?
Counselor Edwards?
Present.
Present. Counselor Letterman?
Present.
Present. Counselor Gomez absent. Counselor Allen?
Present.
Present. Counselor Curran? Absent. Counselor Whitfield? Absent. Counselor Ramos?
Present.
Present. Counselor Brown?
Present.
Present. Counselor Walsh? Absent. Counselor Davila? Absent. Counselor Fenton?
Present.
Present. Counselor Hurst?
Present.
Present. Counselor Whitfield?
Present.
Present. Counselor Williams?
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Could you please call the first item tonight?
The first item on the agenda is to change the zoning of a property known as 797 Berkshire Avenue from Business A to Business B.
All right, is there anyone present to speak to this zone change? Please state your name and address for the record.
Councilor Williams, this is Phil Dromey.
Yes.
I just wanted to, I've been in contact again with the petitioner. He has indicated, I let him know that, that this item cannot remain on the agenda indefinitely, but he has assured me that he's continuing to work on the plan. It's a wetland plans that he's working on to address some of the issues raised by the abutter, and he's hoping to have that ready at the December hearing. So I would just ask that this be continued again.
All right, thank you, Phil, for that context. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no problem with continuing, but I will say I've been contacted by some of the abutters relative to this project, and they have some concerns about some of the activity that might already be occurring. So, Phil, I would just encourage somebody to take a ride by there and make sure that nothing's going on that is not proper within their current zoning.
Councilor Letterman, before we proceed, Madam Clerk, can you please recognize Councilors Davila?
Counselor Davila?
Present.
And Councilor Ramos?
Present. Counselor Ramos has been marked present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. I was just noting the fact that until we just got Counselor Davila, we were at a minimum of 9 people, and everybody would have to vote in favor of something with 9. I think we're at 10 now, but I just raising that point, that's all.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Is there any further discussion? Right.
Mr. President.
Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Just on that point, I think it would be appropriate if you give each petitioner the option of either continuing the item because of the fact that we only have 10 councilors present. So just it would be good to give them the option of continuing or having the item heard tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Ramos. I certainly appreciate that point, and we'll pose it at the appropriate time. For this item, I will entertain a motion relative to what Phil mentioned to us to continue this item.
So moved.
Make a motion to continue the item or second.
All right.
Everyone.
Motion made by Counselor Allen, seconded by Counselor Whitfield. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue this zone change?
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Gomez absent. Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Curran absent. Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Walsh absent. Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Williams?
Yes, the item has been continued. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is to change the zoning of the property known as 8 Florence Street from Residence B to Residence C.
All right, is there's anyone present to speak to this case? If you could please state your name and address for the record, and also relative to, again, to Counselor Ramos' point, if you would like to continue due to the absence of some counselors, feel free to state that as well.
Hello, my name is Alex Whitis. I reside at 195 Christopher Terrace, West Springfield. Can I just confirm, Mr. James Williams,
Yes.
since there's not a full array of people, the whole, we're missing a lot of members here. You're saying that you need to have a, it's not, it's still requiring 9 votes of the active members.
Yes, that is correct. So we obviously have enough to proceed, but you can do the math in your head around whether you should or not.
And then if we do not, the next city meeting is a month from now.
Yes, I can. I sorry, I don't have the Madam Clerk. I'm not sure if you have that date in front of you, but yes, it would be the next hearings night, and which would be taking place next month. Yes.
December 13th, I believe.
Thank you, Phil. December 13th.
That's tough. I mean, geez, it's our plan is pretty straightforward. I don't know, maybe if you believe it'd be in our best interest to revisit this, but our pending application is straightforward. So I don't know, it might be appropriate at this time.
Counselor Williams, may I interrupt?
Yes, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Walsh just signed on, so that makes another member that can vote if we mark her as present.
Thank you for that point. And if you could please recognize Counselor Walsh.
Counselor Walsh? You're muted, Counselor.
And I'm not present and not sure which item you're discussing.
Present, and we're on item number 2.
Thank you.
So again, yes, Alex, again, we have an additional counselor now. I believe that makes us at 11. So if it's up to you. It's to your discretion.
Yeah, I believe I will choose to continue at this time.
All right. Feel free. Counselor Hurst, before we get to, I'm sorry, Alex. Counselor Hurst, did you have a?
I was also just going to say, because of the bifurcated process, the reality is that we're probably going to continue most of these items. And so in the event that counselors want to go back and review the tape, I believe they can still participate in the final vote,
Yes.
if that makes sense, Mr. President. So
Yes. Thank you, Counselor Hurst. Yes, it does. Davila, did you have a point before we proceed? Davila, did you have a point?
Oh, my apologies, Mr. President. I didn't realize you called me. Yes, I just want to be clear, sir, that if we are giving the proponents the option to continue it, and it's the first time they're presenting today, if they continue towards December 13th, then they're going to have to wait until January for the second part of the hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear, so there's no misunderstandings that is the case today. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Wates, I'll pass it to you.
All right. Yes. Hello, members of the City Council. My name is Alex Whitus. I work and I'm managing partner with Whitus Properties LLC. My partner and brother, Jason Whitus, is also listening in on this call. We're active members of the community, engaged in many things. We are petitioning to have a zone change at the property located at 8 Florence Street from Residence B to Residence C to allow for multifamily housing. There are currently 2 properties across the street on Central Street that are apartment buildings owned by an officer in town, Francisco. I had the pleasure of doing business with him before. Our goal is to create 3 ADA compliant units on the first floor and 3 units on the second and third floor. This will require a complete renovation of the building. My brother's contractor. We do plan to obviously sub out a lot of work. We have to have a new commercial sprinkler system, alarm system, refinish the driveway, redo fencing, and all the compliance standards. So that is what we are proposed to do. It is currently been owned and operated by Peter Sayers. He is currently the owner. Contingent upon this approval, we intend to purchase the property from him, completely renovate it, and rent it out. We currently have a 6-family and a 4-family rented out to CHD and Wayfinders. Wayfinders was able to provide us a letter of recommendation for this meeting. That's all for now.
All right, thank you. And before we proceed, Councilor Whitfield, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just was piggybacking off of what Councilor Davila said. If these items continue into January, we have a couple new counselors. So how does that work?
They would.
I don't know.
Yeah. Ed, let me pass that to you. Will they be able to take part in those items that are continued? No.
No, we might have a problem with things going into January. As you know, there's going to be people that are not going to be on the council in January. There's going to be new people on the council in January. So there's some things that you may want to pass on until January because this is a bifurcated hearing.
Right. Thank you, Councilor Whitfield.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony for those in favor of this zone change?
We did receive one letter in favor of this zone change. It was submitted by Janet Vigo, who's the Chief Program Officer of Wayfinders, on October 15th. And she wrote, "To whom it may concern, I am pleased to write this letter of recommendation for Whitus Properties. Wayfinders administers a transitional living program for survivors of domestic violence that leases units throughout the Springfield area. Over the last year, Whitus Properties has purchased and managed the property where we currently lease 4 units that house survivors of domestic violence. During the time that I've worked with Whitus Properties, I've had the opportunity to observe their professional skills and interpersonal style. Since purchasing the property, Whitus has been professional and responsive to our needs and those of our clients. Alex is always available for any issues involving the property and is easy to work with. Wayfinders recommends Whitus Properties because of their level of service, honesty, and skills. We look forward to our continued relationship with Whitus Properties."
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Was that the only piece for testimony in favor?
Yes.
Councilor Williams, I hate to jump in. I just wanted to let you know in the package I sent to the city council, there's also a letter from the Maple High 6 Corners neighborhood.
I see. Madam Clerk, would it be possible that has been distributed to the entire council, correct? Phil?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Madam Clerk, I'm not sure if you have that in front of you to read into the record, but if
I do not.
Okay. It has been passed on to the council, so folks do have that at their hands, but it is a letter in favor, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will proceed. Councilor Ramos. Comment or question?
Mr. President, thank you. I have a couple of questions for Phil. As I read through the staff analysis from the Office of Planning and Equitable.
I'm sorry. Do you mind if I just want to get through the testimony piece and then I will turn it to the council?
Okay, no problem, Mr. President.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony for those who oppose this zone change?
We have not.
All right. With that being said, at this time, I will entertain any questions from the council to the petitioner, Councilor Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I mentioned, just reading through the analysis from the Office of Planning and Equitable Dev, they made several mentions of some of the concerns that they had in regards to this property. One being the condition of the 6-foot chain link fence, the overgrown vegetation throughout the property. They noted that the majority of the parcel was paved. However, there was a part that was unpaved and was being used for parking, and they recommended that this be paved per DPW standards. And finally, there was a concern regarding the dumpster, the location of the dumpster. I was surprised that there were no recommendations in addition to their recommendation to approve. There were no conditions attached to that. It was mentioned in the neighborhood council letter that the petitioner has indicated that he plans on making improvements to the parking lot, the driveway, the fencing, and the exterior of the building, etc. But there is nothing in writing. And so I just wanted to ask Phil, if he would recommend, how he recommends that we proceed to make sure that these conditions are met.
Counselor, well, unfortunately, unlike a special permit, I can't condition a zone change. So
Sure.
The zone change is just it's a recommendation to approve or disapprove. So special permits I can add conditions to, but zone changes I can't. So the concerns have been raised. Mr. Whitus did indicate to the planning board that he intended to address these, but at the end of the day, I've got to go by what's being said, because I can't condition a zone change.
And so how do you recommend that we proceed in order to make sure that these recommendations and these concerns are addressed?
Well, I guess I would defer to the petitioner to have him address have him address those concerns and how he plans to handle them.
But there isn't any way that we can put this.
Ultimately, code enforcement, I guess, ultimately can get involved with if cars are parking on the area that's unpaved, the fence is in poor condition, I've mentioned that, so hopefully the petitioner will address that. But again, I think, kind of the only avenue we have is that code would have to go out and ensure that these, they're not being cited for blight, I guess.
Okay. No, that's helpful. That's what I was looking for. I think that that answers my question. But I do want to hear from the petitioner and hear how he plans to address these concerns, if you don't mind, Mr. President.
Sure thing.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Ramos, thank you for that. It would only be in our best interest to increase the beautification of the city that's been ongoing for quite some time now. We know that the Maple High Six Corners neighborhood is frequently traveled through, located in the vicinity of MGM and the colleges. And we would want nothing less than to, have our properties up to date and looking good. I'm not quite sure what we can do to solidify your needs or requests. I can guarantee you we're going to be paving where the dumpster is, it's going to be fenced in. Parking lot's going to be where all the cars are parked. It's an 11-car parking lot, plenty of parking there. And I can't go on beyond that. With the other properties that we have had, we've definitely done everything needed to bring them up to date and still plan for future renovations. The fence is a big concern. If it was to change to residential, we could definitely drop it down to a standard 4-foot fence. It's not an issue at all. But if we do not end up receiving the zone change, the property kind of remains as is. And we definitely have big ambitions with this property because we are vested in our company and we do plan on being in Springfield for decades.
Do you own other properties in the city?
Yes, we own a 6-family on 768 Belmont Avenue. right before East Long Meadow. And then we own a 4-family located on Greenwich Street off of Main Street for a total of 30 bedrooms.
Okay. And what are the conditions at those at those properties?
Very, very good. As the letter stated from Wayfinders, we rent out Greenwich Street, the 4-family, as transitional housing. And Center for Human Development is also the same for people emerging from homeless shelters. So we have everything up to code with them. We actually renovated the first floor of Belmont Avenue to ADA compliant to meet their needs. So we've been really forthcoming with everything, and we're very transparent with our actions and, you know, everything we do. Jay is a licensed contractor, and he definitely has a lot of involvement with jobs with a lot of these companies, and they respect him very much for the work that we do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ramos. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening to you, sir. Question for you. Actually, it's for Phil. Phil, if I understand this correctly, we're going from resident B to resident C. If this is approved, can the proponent just go on forward without his plans, or does he have to come back to us for any kind of special permits?
The zone change is what he needs. With the number of units would not trigger a special permit.
Okay, so he can move on. Okay.
Correct.
So Mr. Witas, am I pronouncing your name correctly, sir? Alex?
Whitus, if you will, sir.
Whitus. Thank you for being here. So question, kind of following what Councilor Ramos was just saying, I'm glad to see that there's going to be some good use, a residential use for this. But one of my main concerns with this property is that it's just cement. I didn't hear you say anything about any greenery. And although I'm happy that we're going to have housing there, we need greenery there other than just a pot of flowers. So how you plan to do that with this property?
Yes, of course. And if you reference in the package you received, out front, there were 2 bushes. But by decreasing the height of the fence, adding in exterior lighting and a modern 3-story porch. I'm so sorry. It is a concrete paving parking lot on the west-hand side of the building, so it would be pretty difficult to include shrubbery or bushes in that area. I actually was informed by the I think it was the neighborhood council next door in the 2 parking lots in the commercial buildings adjacent that there is no shrubbery or minimal. And he actually has shrubs there. And once they grow beyond a certain height, they are actually against code. So by renovating the exterior, brand new, new roof, fresh parking lot, both sides, and just kind of beautifying the property itself and really bringing it up to speed and refinishing the fence, I do think it will add a nice aesthetic. Definitely will be a lot nicer than it is currently.
I agree with you with that, but I'm still living in the same place. No, not a single greenery. And we all know that it's going to be hotter during the summer. All that I'm saying to you, sir, is that although I am agreeing that it's a good use of the property, I would like to hear a commitment from you, which I haven't heard, that you're going to put something there to make it green, because we can't have pure cement on that. And by the way, what's that building there? I'm looking here on the GPS. To the east of that, is that your property as well? That kind of road thing that looks like there?
No, that was vacant for a few years, and I think last year or the year prior, it was renovated into a convenience mart type mini market.
Okay, all right. So, okay, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Councilor Davila. Are there any other questions from the council for the petitioner? Counselor Edwards.
Good afternoon, everyone. The gentleman, Mr. White, just came before the neighborhood council. The neighborhood council was satisfied with the presentation that was made. To my colleagues concerned about greenery, this is the site that is abuts or across from the triangle along the path of the tornado from years ago. The property abuts the former Pine Street Market that had been closed. There was a murder there many years ago, the very controversial one. It had stayed closed. Somebody has spent some time investing in renovating the building, but the property sits on a corner. There is no way for him to add greenery except to put it in a pot, because it would require him to take cement and dig it up in order to get to earth to put anything there. But all of the concerns that were raised related to the fencing, growth, and presentation, the Council of Maple High Six Corner was confident that Mr. White is going to be a reputable businessman and take care of the property. The issue as to whether or not what happens after the zone change, that is the responsibility of the city and the code enforcement department. And we as a council may want to take and have a conversation moving forward, because there are properties across the city that need attention from code and a better system in place to address special permits that have been granted and then been violated in later on. But as a member of the neighborhood council, we are very confident that Mr. White is going to be a man of his word. Obviously, I have no crystal ball to confirm that in the future, but I'm hopeful that the due diligence and attention that will be brought by the neighborhood council will be enough to, in cooperation with the departments of the city, that we will feel confident this permit should be granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Councilor Allen, followed by Councilor Letterman.
Did you say Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my question is, thanks for the presentation. I'm familiar with the property, you know, on that little cut through. I'm just wondering, is there any additional construction outside the walls of the existing building, or are you just reconfiguring the building that's already there?
The only additional construction is going to be a 3-story exterior porch located on the west side of the building to have additional fire, just exits for the apartments. Other than that, just the asphalt and the refinishing of the sidewalks and the fencing.
Okay, but the structure that exists there now is mainly going to be reconfigured on the inside to the way you specified.
Correct. The business actually back in the 80s was Cash and Carry, which is now my family business, Discount Office Furniture in West Springfield. And after that, it was a church for about 30 years. But the size of the building was actually built for business use at its origination. And it's well suited to fit 9 single family bedroom units in there. It's a very large building with a large lot.
Okay, and what were the average of the 9 single family units in there? Are they 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom? What are they?
They're all going to be 1 bedroom. We have the plans drawn up. We're waiting to submit for the permits until the changing. They're approximately about 700 square feet units. So they include a ADA bedroom, ADA size compliant bedroom, bathroom, and then a joint family room kitchen area with 2 exits within each unit. All utilities will be placed inside the unit. Everything will be up to code there.
Okay, and what is the role of wayfinders? Are they going to help you find tenants, or what's their role here?
Their role is actually just they are the lessees at one of our other properties. We actually are looking with another organization probably for the ADA housing and ADA compliant and friendly units. But their role is not specific in this property.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those are my questions, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Whitus, so just to be clear, you're committing to replacing the existing 6-foot chain link fence that's there?
Yeah, shortening it to, we can absolutely shorten it to a standard foot fence.
So what type of fence will that be?
Well, be like a chain link fence as existing, and then probably maybe do a matte black finish on or something like that. No specific plans, but the neighborhood council addressed that they wanted the fence shortened, so we thought it would be really appropriate, especially since as you come up the hill, it's the first thing you see there on the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a prominent building in the area, and it will be more prominent with your improvements and renovations. So, would you encourage something or consider something perhaps, more aesthetically pleasing than chain link?
Well, other fence or no fencing? I think it's appropriate.
No. I think it's fine to have fencing. I said, would you consider a more aesthetically pleasing fence like wood or vinyl or something more residential in nature?
I understand. Yeah, we could, but just with the existing fence, if you take that fence down, a chain link fence, and you were to do like a nice matte black rubber finish on it or something like that, it actually does look pretty good if it's well maintained. And if it's freshly done, if we redo the fence, it will look really good.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the neighborhood council is happy and it has a more residential look to it, because it's definitely a very commercial fence, which it's been I understand, a church property for a long time. So when it's not occupied all the time, I can see wanting to see that, that type of security. But I think that'll be an improvement. The other question I had is, what's the price point on the units that you're going to be constructing?
The rent or the cost of the renovations?
The rent.
We'd be expecting anywhere from 800 to 1,000, probably closer to 800 per unit. Excluding utilities, that is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Mr. Whitus, my question is, as far as construction goes, do you have your own construction company? Are you hiring a local company?
Yes, I would like to defer to my partner, Jason. I don't know, Jay, are you available to speak on this? But we definitely have a large experience, and Jay has handled jobs at a much larger scale and scope of this. Actually, he currently is right now on location. That's why he's not with me. But he actually has a wide array of contractors he uses for electrical, plumbing, sprinkler systems, fire alarms, everything. There's multiple family members that I have that actually own and operate their own construction companies. So I believe that we are well equipped to handle this in a timely manner, and we have been pre-approved financing for the project.
So the question isn't about experience, it's more about, is it a local company that will be doing the construction, or is it not local?
Yeah, so Jason and I will do the majority of it for plumbing, electrical, things outside of our scope and, required licenses, as the fire alarm system, sprinkler system, that will be contracted out to other local companies. We tend to like to use local companies, but Jason is very well equipped, and there's no significant changes. The structure already exists as is. It's just actually putting up the framing and running new utilities to the units. But the structure actually has 24-inch steel I-beams supporting it with concrete 9-inch cinder blocks on the first and second floor. So it exists as is, so it's not major renovations.
So the only reason I bring this forward is because a lot of times business owners from other communities come into our community and do not hire locally. And I want to encourage that when you look for subcontractors, you even look for minority-owned contractors along with local to Springfield, I work in West Springfield, so we can go there too, but just want you to keep that in mind that, you know, if you can at all possible hire locally, that would be very much appreciated. And also I wanted to piggyback off what Councilor Letterman said as far as the fence, the aesthetics of it. I just looked it up online. Should change. It still looks commercial in stature. So if you could just maybe consider maybe a vinyl fence or something like that, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Councilor Woodfield, Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, and I agree on the fence. Mr. Whitus, what about the sidewalk? It looks like it's brick and in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, so we're currently not the owners of this property, so we're not very incentivized to bring it up to speed and renovate it. I do know on the western side of the building next to the next property, it is about a 50-foot span of brick walk. You know, and I believe that would be up to us. I mean, to renovate if nothing else is going to be done, we pour concrete and have sidewalks, you know. I mean, it is in poor condition, so something would have to be addressed with those sidewalks. The bricks are all kind of coming apart, so probably have to pour concrete in there.
Okay, well, we would hope you'd work with the neighborhood on that before pouring concrete, because it is a really nice, otherwise brick sidewalk, and I'd hate to see it poured over with concrete or asphalt.
Well, I mean, we could renovate it. My friend, Nick Pandolfi owns Pandolfi Landscaping. They do hardscaping. That's all they do. But whatever would be fit. I mean, it wasn't on the top of our agenda, but definitely something that would have to be addressed. You know, it's just that property from A to Z actually needs a lot of renovations, and it's only going downhill. So we really think, and for us, this is a transitional property, actually. This really will help us achieve what we're looking to do as a company. So this will have a huge impact on our future endeavors. So, I mean, I promise you, it's really in our best interest to do the utmost that we can with this property.
Thank you. And my last question is, your neighbor at, let's see, 246 Central Street has a garage that they appear to be using a part of your parking lot to access, where there's a break in the fence. Have you had a survey done, and what do you intend to do about that break in the fence after this zone change?
We're currently working with them. We informed them that that is not their property, and there was a pre-existing fence there that was removed during the current ownership. We weren't aware of it. We spoke with them and informed them that a fence might be rearranged there, or perhaps, if they don't overuse the area, we might be able to work something out with them because sometimes they do have a little bit more cars there than we would like.
That's what I'm looking at. And my concern, Alex, is that the GIS is not precise, but according to the GIS, without that access, they wouldn't be able to get at their driveway. Have you had a survey done, and can you confirm if the GIS is correct with respect to the property lines there with 246 Central Street?
Yeah, so that fence actually spanned across the way there. There's enough room to tuck a car alongside their ramp and the fence, but they tend not to. They'll park there though, but they can use that for access. That's originally what was there about 20 years ago.
Okay. So do you have a survey? Is there a survey?
We had a site plan drawn up. Yeah, we had Stephen Roberts go out and survey the land for us for a site plan that we submitted with our application. And the site plan does include that the perimeter of our property does run horizontal without any breaks from east to west on that linear line there on the north side. It's a large
survey,
lot.
is that in our packet, Phil?
Yes, the plan is at the end of the.
Yeah, so it's page 7 of the packet. My concern, Alex, is how are they, if you put the fence up where that line is shown, how is 246 Central Street going to get their car to their garage?
So we're currently working with them. We're definitely open to leaving that open if it's going to be very doable for them and our tenants. But they, as I explained before, they can fit a car between that area. That's their paved driveway. There's currently a trailer.
They can fit a car right here?
Yes, that is correct. There's a trailer parked right there right now, but they park cars there sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Councilor Fenton, Councilor Letterman, followed by Councilor Davila.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to strongly discourage cementing over the brick. I mean, that is one of probably few original brick sidewalks left in the city. So it would really be much more appropriate to restore it. You know, and so I would definitely encourage the petitioner prior to our vote at the next meeting to talk with the neighborhood council about their intentions relative to the sidewalk. And actually what I'd really like to see before we vote is a hard commitment on the record relative both to exactly what's going to happen to the fence and exactly what's going to happen to the sidewalk. And I think that conversation should be had with the neighborhood council board before we vote at our next meeting. You know, the petitioner's spoken about what an impact they think this will have on their business. And, you know, I want to make sure that it has a similarly positive impact on the neighborhood. So I wanted to put those two things out there. And then the last question I had was, how does the petitioner plan to market the apartments that you plan to have constructed? You plan to just put them on the open market, or are you working with an organization? I know you said you weren't working with Wayfinders with regard to this property. So how do you intend to market the property?
Yeah, it's a great idea to address those issues with the neighborhood council. I think we will come to something that will work good for both parties. And we are actually in talks with CHD for perhaps the ADA compliant and friendly units as they currently rent out the other building that we have. Those were the only plans we have for marketing at this time, but open to other ideas if they arise down the road.
Okay, thank you. I'll be looking for that commitment at the next meeting.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to point out that that area has really come a long way. There has been a lot of good renovations to the buildings. The triangle looks excellent. So it's an area that has really, really come a long way. And Alex, I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly. Did you say that guys are not incentivized to change the sidewalk and the fencing because you don't own the property? Is that what I heard you say?
So currently the property is held by my grandfather, Peter E. Sayers. He has owned several properties throughout Springfield throughout his time. Many people may know him. It's just that we're looking to purchase the property from him. He's the current owner. And as is, we kind of take care of the building for him, help him alongside. But, you know, we don't know if we're going to move forward with the building, but we have.
So why give you the what you want then? If you don't know if you can move forward, why should we grant your request?
Because if we're not granted the zone change, we don't really have a very good use for the building for ourselves, as we like to continue.
So do you think then that speaking to Councilor Letterman's point that maybe there should be a strong commitment not only for the fence but for the sidewalk?
Yeah, we can absolutely arrange for that. Yes, of course.
So are you telling us that you're making a commitment?
Yeah, I can definitely make a hard commitment that we will bring the fence down to a standard height fence at the minimum, and we can re-brick the brick sidewalk with hard pack and restore it to original condition.
Right. And what about the other side of the on Florence Street? That where are we here? Let me look at the GPS real quick. On the side of the Florence Street.
That will either be, sorry about that. That will either be 3.5-inch riverbed stone or a 2 to 3 inch layer of gravel.
So the reason I asked, because I think that I agree that for the vista and the aesthetic of the area, it will go very nicely, not only with what I think it's your plans for the housing, but also for that area, which again has really, really come a long way. And those bricks, they're just bricks, they're part of the history of the city. And so again, just so I heard you correctly, lately I've been in this thing of hearing correctly. You are making on the record with us a hard commitment that you will do the fencing for standards, as standards, lower it down and put the bricks and cement the other side in Florence Street, correct?
Yeah, we'll absolutely do the fencing, absolutely do the brick sidewalk. And for the other, the eastern side of the building, I wouldn't commit to concrete, but I can commit to at least asphalt. Yeah, or cobblestone. That's absolutely, yep.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Whitfield.
So my question is more for Phil because I'm confused. He's not the current owner of the property, but he can petition a zone change. Like, I'm confused at that because he said they may not even buy the property. And so why would we grant a zone change? And also that means anybody can petition a zone change for something that they don't own?
As long as the owner of the property signs the petition, absolutely, which the owner of the property has. If they're not the owner, they're the petitioners. So, you know, as long as the owner is included as part of the application.
Yeah, so that's a little like worrisome to me because you, Mr. Whitis, you don't know if you're gonna buy it. Are you gonna buy it? Why would we grant a zone change if someone wanted to buy it zoned the way it is? If you're not sure if you're gonna buy it, why would we?
No, we're definitely gonna buy the building. It's just financially, it actually isn't the best property as is with just one unit in the current first floor and the unit in the second floor. By updating the zoning and allowing us to update the building, we can make way better use, financially, physically, all 4 tests of feasibility will be covered here in this zone change. It's just in its current state, especially since there was a special, the church was able to operate on the first floor, even in the residential zoning. So that that's an empty area right now. It's a 30 by 60 empty brick wall area. And there's not much going for the property right now. And that's why we want to be able to make it into something great. You know, we want to be able to make it into a multifamily apartment building.
And I just want to be clear because when I asked you about the construction of the building, you said there's not much structural, there's not much. And then a little bit later on the call, you said there's a lot of upkeep or a lot of maintenance that you have to do to the property. So I'm just confused. Is it or is it not? And are you buying it or are you not? So I just want to be clear on what your intentions are for the property.
Okay, yeah, great. So our intention is if we approve the zoning, we are going to move forward. We already have the financing approved with People's Bank for the project. And sorry, what was the former part of that?
And the construction of the property.
Yes, if you will.
Are you just saying there's not a lot of structural?
Yeah, the shell's already there. It's already all great 9-inch concrete block. Everything's there. It's just all you're doing is actually framing out the inside. That's what I meant.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Are there any other questions for the petitioner at this time?
Motion to continue.
There is a motion on the floor to continue.
Second.
And it's been properly seconded by Councilor Whitfield. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on continuance?
On continuance, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez, absent. Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran, absent. Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Councilor Davila?
Councilor Davila?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Madam Clerk, can you please call the item?
The next item is item number 3, which is for a special permit for new construction at the property known as Southside Belmont Avenue, which is also 462 Belmont Avenue.
All right, is there anyone present to speak to the special permit? If so, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Seneca Slaughter, 52 Eaton Street, Springfield, Massachusetts.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Excuse me. Hello, counselors. My name is Seneca Slaughter. Like I said, 52 Eaton Street. I live in Forest Park. I am applying for a special permit of a new construction, mixed-use residential and office building. I have sent this plan down in front of the planning board. I have an approval from them with conditions, and I have also ran this plan by the Forest Park Civic Association, and we are currently working on a lighting plan together for the building, and I expect that we will have that worked out together in the next week or so before we bring this matter back before the board.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slaughter. Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony for those in favor of the special permit?
We have not.
All right, and I will again ask, have we received any testimony for those in opposition of the special permit?
No, we have not.
All right, proceeding with that, at this time, I will entertain questions from the council for the petitioner, Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to update, Mr. Seneca did appear in front of the Forest Park Civic Association. He did get a very good and thorough presentation. We have lively discussion at the time. As he stated, we're currently reviewing the lighting plan. We should have an answer back by this Wednesday, and we should be all set to proceed accordingly for the December meeting. The property, it's at 462 Belmont Avenue, is currently vacant, and it was, with my understanding, that it was viewed with good eyes at the Forest Park Civic Association. I myself, from a council perspective, have to say that I'm excited that this is moving into our district. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila, for the context. Councilor Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to highlight Seneca's investment in the city of Springfield. I appreciate the work that you have done. Being in the investment business is not easy. And the fact that you have done some things that I know there are a lot of other folks who are in similar shoes wish they would have done is quite impressive. The fact that you've been able to navigate through both code enforcement in the building of the department, especially being a young person of color in this industry, I know is not easy. So I'm looking forward to support this project, and I hope you continue to invest here in the city of Springfield and keep up the great work. Certainly are a role model of mine. So I fully look forward to supporting this project.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Certainly would echo the sentiments of my colleague, Councilor Hurst. I know we've had Mr. Slaughter before the council before, and always with strong projects and proposals. I just had a quick question. It just says it'll be a mix of residential and office. So how many office units and then how many residential units, Mr. Slaughter?
Well, there will be one residential unit. The total building envelope is 3,600 square feet. So the bottom floor will be around 1,800 square feet. Right now, my plan is to use the entire space for my real estate brokerage. But in the future, I would like the option to maybe split that in two, or so have two. Right now, one office, but possibly in the future have two offices there.
Okay, that's perfect. That was my next question, was did you have a tenant lined up? But it is yourself, so that's great. But I think that's appropriate use, and I also, the initial designs look very much in keeping with, it's not in the historic district, but it abuts it, and it looks like it's to scale in a good way. So thank you very much for bringing a good proposal again.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Are there any other questions or comments for the petitioner? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation that the council would like to have?
Motion to continue, Mr. President.
Motion on the floor to continue. Proper second by Councilor Whitfield. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to continue?
I'm continuing the item. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez, absent. Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes. Item has been continued. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is for a special permit for the expansion of a pre-existing crematorium at the property known as West Side Pine Street, also known as 171 Maple Street.
All right, is there anyone present to speak to this special permit? Of state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Jim Hannafin. The property is, I'm one of the members of the Board of Trustees, the property at 171 Maple Street in Springfield.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Jim Hannafin. With me tonight is Joe Carvella and Jim Mooney. Jim Mooney is the Executive Director and General Manager of the Springfield Cemetery. Joe and I are volunteers of the Board of Trustees. We've been on the committee for over 20 years. This is volunteering and serving for the Springfield Cemetery. We are here requesting a special permit for the existing non-conforming use to construct a 1,756 square foot addition to house 2 new cremation units in the building that will ultimately replace 2 of the older units that are inside the existing chapel. I do have a presentation if you want to see that, or if I can continue on.
Feel free to share. You have sharing privileges, so feel free.
So this slide demonstrates the area of where the present crematory is.
I'm sorry, we're not seeing anything on the screen, sir. I apologize.
Sorry.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is a slide of the present sites of the cemetery area. The part in the middle that's in the red is the existing cemetery, cremation building. The Springfield Cemetery is a nonprofit agency that's been providing crematory services for almost 100 years. It's part of the Dorsch Chapin Chapel, which houses presently 4 cremation units. The proposed area is where we want to add on, and the closest neighboring abutter is 200 feet away at the smallest dimension, and up to 500 feet on the other adjacent sides. The building sits down approximately 40 feet down below Pine Street, so it's really almost impossible to see the building, the present building, and it'll be the same when we build the addition, with your approval. Should be doing this. So this is the present floor plan of the existing chapel. The gray area is the existing building, and it houses, again, the 4 units. The 2 in the upper area here at the top of the screen are approximately 20 years old. That was an addition that, again, onto that building that was done, again, about 20 years ago. And the 2 original units are over 30 years old, and they're within the chapel area itself. These are the 2 smaller units. They're much smaller than modern day cremation units, and they present the limitation for the use we're able to use. These are the 2 units that we will look to replace in the upcoming years once we have our addition built. What we've learned in the past, I'll say 2 years during the COVID problems, is we are pushing all of these units almost 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, in order to keep up with the deaths that were occurring in the surrounding area. And as the Board of Trustees decided, this is too much, we can't depend on 30-year-old units to continue the operations. The cremations are 90% of the income for the Springfield Cemetery. Burials are just not in demand in this area. So cremations are what funds all of the operations for the cemetery. That includes approximately 10 people employed throughout the year in the cemetery, the maintenance of all the buildings, maintenance of the streets, the maintenance of the graves, as well as capital improvement projects that we've recently completed, including road replacement of fencing around the property, stained glass in the chapels, in the buildings around there. So we really depend on the cremations to keep the cemetery in operation. The blue area at the top of the page is the proposed addition. And we're somewhat limited where we can put this addition because of topography and the shape of the property. Oops. This is an aerial site plan of the existing chapels here on the left, 20-year-old addition right here with the white roof, and the proposed new addition is what's in red. Again, this is a very steep site, so we're very limited on, we really only have one area to build the addition and get access to. We keep the existing driveway, infill some grass and areas, things like that. The addition will not require any additional, I'm sorry. Oh, the addition will not require any additional connections to the city infrastructure. All storm water is being managed on the property. The existing gas service is large enough. Utility, electrical connection is sufficient. So again, it's no additional impact on the city's infrastructure. These are a couple of photos of the existing conditions. And as you can see in the upper left corner, the sloped area and the grass area, there's probably a 12-foot topography change that we have to build a new addition into, that we're dealing with. It's the parking area and the loading area. You can see in upper hand right, we want to maintain or provide a corridor access into that. So we're working around the existing conditions and some of the limitations of the site. The area on the bottom hand right, you can see is the original chapel building that has right inside there where the two 30-year-old cremation units are that ultimately we want to replace and decommission at some point down the road. And you can see the height of these, if you can watch, the height of that building is smaller compared to what we're proposing. A three-dimensional model of our proposed addition is here with the chapel. We're not physically connecting to the chapel itself. We're connecting to the 20-year-old addition, but you can see the height that's required for the new modern day equipment. A lot of that is to do with the exhaust systems and the improved efficiency of the units and filtering of the exhaust systems. Ultimately, the two new units will be engineered to be 60% more efficient than the present units we have. So in other words, we'll be using 60% less fossil fuels, natural gas, and 60% electrical load that'll be used overall for the daily operations. It also cuts the time in half that to take to do one process. In addition to the improved safety and overall requirements, the environmental impact is significantly less. It will be reduced when we replace the 30-year-old units. The manufacturer presents some of these facts that the new units are 800% less, or produce 800% less VOCs into the air than a typical dry cleaner, 75% less nitrogen oxides compared to a typical diesel truck, 60% less carbon monoxide than a gas leaf blower, and 50% less particulates than a residential fireplace. So the new units are are in compliance with all Mass DEP requirements. They're overseen by the Mass Environmental Protection Agency. Those are all codes that we will comply with and have to comply with, as well as the state cemetery codes and NFPA for safety. So one of the key factors we want to point out too is that we're not looking to increase the traffic flow or anything or the use of this building. We're looking to prepare for the future and replace 30-year-old units with new modern equipment, hopefully to prepare for another 100 years for use for the cemetery. The group we have presented in front of the Maple High Six Corners Neighborhood Council. You should have a letter of support in your packet. We've also submitted, and the Office of Planning and Economic Development issued a no objection letter as well for the project. So we are asking for your support and approval for the special permit.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We just wouldn't mind stop sharing, and I'll bring it back to a full screen. Appreciate it. Thank you. At this time, I will turn it over to the council for any questions for the petitioner, Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't really have any questions for the petitioner. I think it looks like a great project. My question is, there's a phone number on here that's not recognized, and there's a LHM, and so I just wanted to identify who those folks were. But thank you for the presentation. I think it was great. A great job. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. If to that point, if the individual with the number 1-860-969-9898 wouldn't mind identifying yourself.
Yes, hello. It's Mark Waldron with Page Cultivate. I have dialed in both with a Zoom video as well as on my phone as a backup.
Okay, appreciate that. And are you the LHM as well?
No, I'm not.
No, okay. The person with an individual with the initials LHM, could you please identify yourself? Again, the individual with initials LHM, can you please identify yourself? We'll proceed and I'll handle that offline. Councilor Edwards, you have the floor.
Yes, I just like to emphasize that the Maple High Six Corners vetted this presentation as well, and we saw it. We were very comfortable with it. One of the questions that was raised was the proximity to a business that operates in the area a little bit further down on Mill Street and that describes themselves as a crematorium. The fact of the matter is that there's only, by state law, only cemeteries can operate crematoriums. The company that describes themselves as a crematorium further down on Mill is a funeral home, and their bodies are also taken to either this site or to one other site in Springfield. This is a necessary need. The presentation that was made to the council was appropriate. We were able to answer our questions. I had an opportunity to talk to many of the neighbors closest to the cemetery and find out, what their objections and concerns were. And I got a pretty positive response. And I was able to share that in a meeting with the representatives of the cemetery. The neighbor council had a meeting. We voted, or they voted. I didn't vote on the meeting, but they voted in support, and they should have sent a letter in support of this project moving forward. It's a reality of life, and it's a necessary need to have this. I think this is an upgrade on what is happening there presently with a more efficient system. I'm very sensitive to cremation. I mean, not necessarily cremation, but the burning of anything in the city of Springfield as somebody who has diminished lung capacity. And I was very confident after seeing the presentation and listening to the concerns and what their plans were that this is an appropriate use. And I encourage my colleagues to grant this permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Next, we have Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to say to you, Mr. Hannafin, and the members of the board, particularly to Joe Carvalho. Joe, nice to see you. Seeing you here is almost like the seal of good housekeeping seal of approval. And I think I can't imagine anybody having any objections to you and this proposal before us, but I was curious, and you referred to it. Are there, first of all, how old is the Springfield Cemetery?
1842.
Oh, yeah.
One
So
of the oldest ones in the country. Yeah.
that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And I know you have some historic people there. Does this mean that you don't have plots available? Is this the change to cremation, or is just a change in the way people want to do take care of the loved ones now?
I think it's just a change in how people are approaching that. We still have lots, but not a lot. And people are preferring cremation.
Yeah. And now is burial, are the restrictions on who can be buried there?
No.
No. So anyone who has a need could apply, and there would still be, yeah. Okay, all right, well, I don't want to say keep up your good work, but I hope your project, I hope your the seeds.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. And I'm sorry, if you wouldn't mind just identifying yourself for the record with your name and address, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, me?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, Joe Carvalho, 97 Ridgeway Circle, Springfield.
All right, thank you. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just out of curiosity, how many crematoriums are there in the kind of greater Springfield area? Do you guys know?
Two.
Just you and who else?
In Hillcrest.
Okay.
On Parker Street, yeah.
Right. And that handles the majority of the two of you handle the majority of cremations for the region?
Correct. And there is a crematorium in Pittsfield, and there's two in Worcester.
Wow, that's so 2 in Springfield, 2 in Worcester, 1 in Pittsfield. And that's pretty much the rep for Central and Western Mass.
Yes, correct.
Interesting. All right, thank you very much.
Councilor Letterman, are there any other questions or comments for the petitioner at this time? Seeing none, is there any further deliberation? All right, seeing none, at this time, I will entertain a motion to continue.
Motion to continue.
Motion made by Councilor Edward and seconded by Councilor Walsh. Madam, can you please call the roll to continue?
I'm continuing. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez absent. Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran absent. Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst?
Yes, sorry.
Yes, Councilor Williams?
Yes, the item is continued. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is for a special permit to operate an adult use marijuana establishment at a portion of the property known as 299 Page Boulevard.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilor Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to table this particular item. As many of you are well aware, on October 14th, I received a correspondence from Mr. No regarding an audit that I requested comparing this particular process for marijuana, for the marijuana selection process to the previous process. And on 10/14, Mr. No informed me that he had completed his field work activities and was now waiting for the solicitor to get back to him so that he could complete the audit. It has since been close to a month and a half, and that has not occurred. I think that information was germane and relevant to all of the marijuana applicants, and I think we should have received it prior to approving any of the applicants. However, we did not do so, but I just want to stress to folks that the impetus for me requesting an audit was because of this particular applicant that is coming before us today. And so it is my hope that my colleagues will allow this matter to be tabled and we can take it up once we receive that report and folks have had an opportunity to vet that information. And so hopefully that report will be forthcoming. On top of that, Mr. President, I do believe we're also missing two counselors who I would imagine would want to be present to hear this information as it's presented. And, knowing the course of this process, there have been instances in which we've ended up in court. And so if that were to be the case, I would imagine that we would want to start off on the right foot and have as many individuals present as possible to either be able to vote for or against a particular petitioner as it relates to marijuana.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
Motion to table this item.
Right. There's motion on the floor to table. Is there a proper second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Allen. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to table this item?
On tabling item number 5, Councilor Edwards.
A question on the motion, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Has the option of tabling been afforded to the petitioner? Because of the number of people available, is it appropriate to ask their comment or their representatives, their comments on whether it's on the tabling of it?
Well, there's a motion on the floor by Councilor Hurst. Councilor Edwards, I would like to dispose of the motion since it was brought forward prior to the speaking of the petitioner. I think that would be most appropriate. So if you don't mind with disposing of the motion without the discussion of what you had mentioned, I think that would be most appropriate.
Question, Mr. President, how many votes are needed?
There are 9 votes needed, Councilor Walsh.
I think there are 7, Mr. President, for the tabling of the item.
Yes, this is not exactly, yes. But we do have 2 missing councilors as mentioned.
2 missing? Okay, thank you.
So there's a motion that's been properly seconded by Councilor Allen. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll to table the item?
Councilor Edwards.
No.
No. Councilor Letterman.
No.
No. Councilor Gomez. Absent. Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Curran. Absent. Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Brown.
Abstain.
Abstain. Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Fenton.
I think he recused himself from this.
Yes, he did. He's absent, Madam Clerk.
He's absent. Absent. Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Williams.
Yes, Madam Clerk, can I have a vote count on that, please?
There's 7 yeses.
All right, this item has been tabled. Madam Clerk, is there any further business before the council at this time?
No, there is not.
Councilor Letterman?
No official formal business, Mr. President, but I simply rise to wish the president happy birthday. And if we were in the chamber, I would suggest singing a traditional song for happy birthday to the president. I will leave it up to our colleagues as to whether we wish to presume that during Zoom. But certainly like to thank the president for working on his birthday.
We definitely can do that now. Ready? Cool.
1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Marcus. Happy birthday to you.
That was awful.
And many more.
I appreciate you all.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy
To you
Thanksgiving.
and your families.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. God bless.
I'm gonna sign you off for some rehearsals, but I really appreciate it.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Mr. Okay.